Hisoka Mura of HunterXHunter is one of the most compelling characters ever written in manga. He's entirely self-serving, self-absorbed, and selfish. He has no qualms about spilling blood, and seems to gain some sexually based pleasure from the mere notion of fighting someone that is very strong, or someone of great promise. He's a brilliant tactician, he has a genius level of intellect, is a brilliant tactician, and is just a plain funny dude. He's manipulative, self-centered, and basically is a murderous psychopath. And yet, there's a very endearing quality about him. And in this video, we're going to explore the dangerously chaotic Hisoka by talking about each moment that he showed up in the manga, and some moments that were beyond the manga as well. But we'll talk about that when we get there. Now, before we start this video, guys, if you're looking for some hot anime merch, I've got a great website to introduce you to, with a discount code in the description. So please go check it out if you're looking for some anime merch. Otherwise, after that, we'll start the video. In Glamgas Land, a young Hisoka is found by Moritonio of the Moritonio Troop. Glamgas is known as a pleasure capital, and it's located northeast of Yorknew City. The Glam caravan became wealthy by discovering the gas deposits and later setting up casinos. The hotels attracted the best magicians and performers, and as a result, show business became the emblematic trade of Gasland. Moritonio's stunts bewildered the audiences. Sometime later, Moritonio asks Hisoka if he could do any tricks or the like. Hisoka's trick astonishes Moritonio. Wow, he's better than me. Moritonio then trains Abaki in 10. Abaki is worried that Hisoka might be involved with the mafia, but Moritonio seems unconcerned. Hisoka is then seen stacking cards with a screw in his hand. Moritonio tells Abaki about the 100-faced John Doe killer, who is crushing all his victims. After one of the performers gets injured, Hisoka volunteers to replace him. Hisoka then shows off his juggling skills. Yasuda, Hisoka's co-performer, throws the batons in an odd manner. However, Hisoka still manages to catch them. Yasuda henceforth leaves the circus, and other members begin protecting their secrets so that Hisoka doesn't steal them. Hisoka wants to steal Moritonio's sky swimming. He's also noticed the aura around Moritonio's body. Moritonio explains Ten and Nen to Hisoka, and has Abaki give him a demonstration. Moritonio then agrees to teach Hisoka Nen. Abaki tells Hisoka about the hunter exam, and how Moritonio failed it. Abaki wants to take the exam as well, and pass for his master's sake. Hisoka then offers her some bungee gum for relaxation. Sometime later, Hisoka displays his mastery of Ten, after only 1 week. Hisoka performs the water divination test, and finds out that he's a transmuter. Later on, Abaki finds a John Doe serial killer crushing someone. She attacks him with a Nen-infused object, but the assailant blocks it. Hisoka then gouges his eye with a playing card, as the assailant runs off. Later on, we see Hisoka taking a bath as he manipulates the water around him with Nen. Afterwards, the Moritonio troop received the highest praise from the head of the Glam clan. After the show, Moritonio asks Hisoka why he was lying face down when they initially found him. Hisoka then says, "Your left eye, has it healed yet, John Doe?" Moritonio loves surprising other people, to the point that he killed his younger sister. Hisoka then engages him by tossing a playing card at him. Moritonio then lands a swift punch in Hisoka's gut. He then shows Hisoka how he manipulates his face with his handkerchief. Moritonio then begins to crush Hisoka with his Nen. However, Hisoka uses Gyo, a technique Moritonio didn't teach him, to defend himself. Hisoka determines that Moritonio uses magnets to make himself float. Moritonio then uses blood magnet Nen to toss steel bars at Hisoka. Hisoka dodges and proceeds to crush Moritonio with the steel bars. "My power transmutes my aura to have the properties of both rubber and gum," says Hisoka. I get the feeling this isn't going to be the first time he says this. It turns out that he stuck it to the pillars and made the center point Moritonio. I call it bungee gum, elastic love. Hisoka then changes Moritonio's face to the John Doe killer. Much better. Now before we get on with the rest of Hisoka's story, I should say this. Hisoka's Past is a prequel one-shot that was written by Sui Ishida, the author for Tokyo Ghoul. Now the story is officially recognized by Togashi, however, it's not certain whether or not the story is canon or non-canon. So take it for what you will, but I thought to be complete, I should add the story in here. I also thought it was funny that the Hisoka Past story is a one-shot that's 69 pages long, so a little bit funny there. But anyway, let's continue the story of Hisoka. Hisoka is next seen at the 287th Hunter exam. It turns out that another applicant bumped into him and didn't apologize. So Hisoka, being generous, severed both of his arms. Hisoka is the 44th applicant, and he would have won last year if he didn't almost kill a judge. In addition, he also mutilated 20 participants. The first round begins with Satote saying that they need to follow him to where the second round stands. We then see Hisoka easily keeping pace. After reaching Milsey Wetlands, a man-faced ape calls out Satote for being an imposter, claiming he's the real judge. Hisoka tosses 3 cards into the imposter's face, apparently killing him on the spot. He also tossed cards at Satote, but the judge caught them. Because Satote caught the cards, Hisoka determines that he's the right judge. However, Satote gives him a warning, saying that if he uses such interventions again, that he'll disqualify the clown. Later on, Killua determines that Hisoka wants to kill somebody, and he'll use the fog to his advantage. And sure enough, Hisoka attacks the other applicants, and eventually feasts his eyes on Kurapika and Leorio. It turns out that Hisoka has gotten bored during the first round, hence he's going to help out the judges. Hisoka is then quickly surrounded, but he uses only 1 card to eliminate them. You've all failed. Cherry, Kurapika, and Leorio decide to split up. Hisoka gives them a 10-second head start, and then goes after Leorio first. The clown easily dodges Leorio's attack, and looks for the kill, but is smacked by Gon's fishing rod. Leorio attempts to punch Hisoka, but the clown easily knocks him off of his feet. Gon attacks, but Hisoka grabs him by the neck. He tells Gon that him and Leorio have passed, and says he'll become a good hunter. Hisoka then receives a radio transmission to hurry back as he grabs Leorio and takes him with him. Gon and Kurapika make it to the second round as Hisoka points them towards Leorio. The next round involves cooking, and Buhara wants roasted pork. We then see Hisoka as well as the others bringing back Great Stamp, which is a large pig. Now for their next challenge, Menchi wants to be served sushi, but her tastes are more discerning. In fact, everyone fails the challenge, necessitating the intervention of Isaac Netero, the chairman, to make Menchi revise her test into boiling an egg. And with this, Hisoka, along with the others, attains a tarantula eagle egg and passes the test. On the blimp, the judges talk about this year's crop, and Buhara notes how Hisoka has immense negative energy. Satote admits that Hisoka is at the same level as them. Meanwhile, Hisoka stacks a bunch of cards, and starts laughing when they fall over. The next time we see Hisoka is at Trick Tower, the prison that serves as the site for Stage 3. I was waiting for you, Hisoka. Togari has only thought about killing Hisoka since he lost last year's exam. Yet, the clown doesn't seem impressed by his progress. Togari tosses 4 bill hooks at Hisoka, which he easily dodges. Togari lunges in for the final blow, but Hisoka catches the bill hooks nonchalantly, a skill that took Togari 6 months to master. And it was mastered by Hisoka in just mere moments. Nice effort, but so useless. Goodbye. After killing Togari, Hisoka arrives at the bottom of the tower first, after only 6 hours and 17 minutes. For the 4th trial, contestants are taken to an island, which is called Zevel Island, to participate in a competition where they will hunt each other down. And as it turns out, Gon draws card 44, which corresponds to Hisoka. Now for the rules of the game, 3 points are granted for their target's card, and their card. 1 point is given to any other cards that they capture. They'll need 6 points to progress to the next round. Hisoka departs first since he completes stage 3 first. On the second day, we see Hisoka sitting by a tree with butterflies flying around him. He receives a call from somebody asking if he took his target's card yet, which he has not. And he says that he plans on hunting down 3 individuals to attain his 6 points. Gon spies on Hisoka from the bushes, waiting for him to make a move. Hisoka detects that someone is hiding and demands that they show themselves. Gaz reveals himself and challenges Hisoka to a duel. Hisoka dodges the multitude of attacks, but refuses to finish him off due to the severity of his injuries. Turns out Hisoka is not interested in the dead. Bye-bye. Gaz lunges forward, but is struck down by needles to the face. The needles coming from Gitaracker. Hisoka tells him that he only lets people live when he estimates an untimely death would be a mess. Gitaracker already has 6 points, so he tosses his extra card at Hisoka. Gitaracker removes the needles from his face, revealing his true form. He then decides to create a hole in the ground and sleep until the end of the week. Hisoka then decides to get his other 2 points. He then spots Kurapika and Leorio hiding in the forest. Amusing. Gon decides to follow Hisoka, hoping for a moment in which he can grab his tag. Hisoka confronts Kurapika and Leorio and asks for their tags. The two are in possession of 4 tags total. Kurapika agrees to hand over one of the tags, but refuses to hand over any more without a fight. Hisoka merely laughs. He then accepts their deal, and Kurapika leaves a tag inside of a tree. Hisoka is impressed by their progress as he grabs the tag from the tree, finding out it's not his target. Gon notices Hisoka's bloodlust, sending a shiver down his spine. The magician's bloodlust causes him to attack Gon. Gon uses his chance to throw his fishing rod at Hisoka, swiping his tag in the process. Gon dies as Gon now has Hisoka's numbered tag. Unfortunately for Gon, he's subsequently taken down by Garetta, whom Hisoka immediately decapitates. Hisoka compliments Gon on his stealthiness, as he drops his own tag next to him. Turns out Garetta was Hisoka's target, giving him the 6 points that he needs. Nevertheless, Gon doesn't want Hisoka's charity, and wants to give the card back to Hisoka. "I refuse," says Hisoka. "I'll let you live." It turns out that he'll wait until Gon becomes a worthy adversary as he punches him in the face. "I'll let you repay me your debt once you're able to hit me at least once in the face. No sooner." After it's all said and done, 9 contestants have gathered the necessary points to advance to the final stage. Netero then receives Hisoka to have a conversation with him. Hisoka isn't particularly interested in becoming a hunter, but likes the advantages that come along with the title. For example, even if we kill someone, we're out most of the responsibility. Netero asks who of the remaining contestants have attained the most attention in his eyes. Hisoka says number 99, Killua, but 405, Gon, holds a lot of potential too. Hisoka says he least like to fight Gon, but of all the people, he'd love to fight Netero. But Netero pays him no mind when he makes this comment. Now, for the last trial, it's a 1v1 duel with the matchups as follows. And you only need 1 victory to pass the Hunter exam, and if you happen to kill your adversary, you're disqualified. During Gon's fight, Hisoka watches as he gets beaten down. Hisoka later laughs as Gon indicates that he doesn't want his leg cut off. For the second match, we have Hisoka versus Kurapika. After the two fight for a while, Hisoka whispers something in Kurapika's ear, and immediately quits. He then fights Badoro and beats him down rather easily. After Hisoka whispers something in his ear, Badoro quits. Now, after the exam, Hisoka is surprised to see Gon lift Illumi into the air. Now, Hisoka, along with the 7 others, is declared a registered hunter. Afterwards, Hisoka and Illumi marvel at Gon's potential. Illumi contemplates stopping Gon here, but Hisoka claims Gon is his own. "If you touch him, you're taking a great risk." Hisoka will now wait for the fruit to mature as he laughs maniacally. Now, the next time that we see Hisoka is at the 200th floor at Heaven's Arena. Hisoka dubs Heaven's Arena as the capital of fights, and he loves fights. It turns out that the magician tracked their movements and figured that they would show up here. However, they arrive prematurely to this floor. He then uses a mysterious force, which is later revealed to be Nen, to prevent the two from passing. "You won't pass. Actually, you can't pass." We then see Hisoka tossing cards on the wall, saying, "Too soon." After learning 10 from Wing, Gon and Killua successfully cross the threshold. Hisoka manipulates his Nen into a spade, and then into a skull. Hisoka then tells Gon that if he can win even 1 match, he'll grant him a fight at Heaven's Arena. During Gon's fight with Guido, Hisoka watches the boy enter a state of Zetsu. The magician clenches his fist with excitement. We next see Hisoka in the center of the arena, as we find out that he's 8-3. But his 3 losses came from not showing up to matches. Therefore, he's technically undefeated. His opponent, Castro, previously lost to Hisoka, but has rattled off 9 victories since. Here we are, the combat between Hisoka and Castro. Castro claims he hasn't gone all out since his previous match with Hisoka. He lunges forward, knocking Hisoka back. The magician seems befuddled, thinking he avoided Castro's right hand. "Don't hold back, Hisoka. I've changed a lot in 2 years." Hisoka says that he's the one that decides, but Castro catches him off guard once more. Castro's attacks continue to bewilder the magician, allowing him to gain a 4-0 lead. Hisoka stands up and says he thought Castro disappeared. After thinking through the situation, he determines that something illogical is going on right now. Castro threatens to take off one of his arms next. Castro performs the bite of the tiger, with Killua noting that masters can cut tree trunks right in half with this technique. Castro lunges in as Hisoka offers up his left arm. However, Castro takes the right one instead. Incidentally, this was still part of Hisoka's plans, as Castro knocks him back. The magician then determines that Castro has a double. Castro creates a doppelganger, or Nen double, right before he disappears. The double feigns an attack while he goes in for a blind spot. Castro plans on attacking the clown's right arm. Nevertheless, Hisoka merely twirls his severed arm right on his other one, as if he's in no pain whatsoever. Maybe it would even give me the envy of beginning. Hisoka then hides his arm underneath a scarf. He tosses a handkerchief into the air, and his arm disappears, with a bunch of cards coming flying out. When it's okay, add 4 to it. Then multiply it by 2, and you should subtract 6. After you divided the sum in half, subtract the initial figure. The answer is... Hisoka then digs into his own arm, and pulls out a bloody card, revealing that it's the Ace of Spades with a picture of death on it. Castro lunges in for the left arm as Hisoka offers it up to him. The left arm goes flying as the right one mysteriously returns. Turns out it was Castro's double that attacked him. Heh. That's also one of my tricks. So where's the trick? Because Castro doesn't understand the trick, he's at a severe disadvantage. Hisoka then predicts that Castro will go insane and then die. Hisoka easily dodges Castro's attacks, noting that his double doesn't show damages received during the fight. Castro attacks from the rear, but is punched by Hisoka's severed arm. A barrage of cards surround Castro from all sides, as he's unable to materialize his double under this strenuous circumstance. The cards cut up Castro, as Hisoka mocks him for his insufficient memory. The superfluous use of your memory is the reason for your defeat. After the match, Hisoka meets Machi in the exit tunnel as she wants to see his wounds. While she patches him up, she scolds Hisoka for prolonging the match, but ultimately doesn't care since she's getting paid either way. Machi sutures with a nen wiring, as veins, bones, and flesh are all restored to 100%. She does the same to the right arm as she demands her payment. Hisoka uses bungee gum and textured surprise to cover up the lesions. Bungee gum has the properties of both rubber and gum. Textured surprise can be placed on a precise point and can be detached whenever he wants. As it turns out, during the match, he attached his handkerchief in his arm to the roof of the dome. He also affixed the gum to the 13 cards on the ground. And by tossing Castro the ace, he affixed the cards to Castro's body. Hisoka utilized his Zetsu to mask his overwhelming aura. He then linked up his left arm to Castro's chin with the bungee gum, ending his preparations for the battle. The handkerchief was made through texture surprised, and he used it to cover up the wound on his arm to give the impression that his arm was reborn. And through these tactics, Hisoka psychologically tormented Castro throughout the match. And because Castro lost his composure, he also lost his focus on his nen ability. Hisoka, however, didn't lose any of his power during the match, even when he was in a bad state. Before departing, Machi tells Hisoka that before the 30th of August, that all the members of the Phantom Troop are to meet in Yorknew City. Hisoka hopes to see the boss, as Machi says that the leader might punish him if he doesn't show up again. Now Hisoka asks Machi to spend the night, but she leaves rather quickly. Now as it turns out, Hisoka doesn't talk about the past, because the past doesn't interest him. In fact, by tomorrow, he'll probably already forget Castro's face. We see that Hisoka is the number 4 spider, but after a shower, he removes it with texture surprise, revealing that it's a fake tattoo and he's not really part of the spiders. Hisoka has found new toys, Gon and Killua, who will entertain him for now, and it's important to note that Hisoka has no master, because he's understood that he's the strongest. Now after Gon defeats Rigoberto, Hisoka grants him his long-awaited match. Later on, Gon calls Hisoka to schedule their match for July 10th. Okay, I'm impatient, replies Hisoka. Hisoka is then seen staring at Heaven's arena. Gon and Hisoka prepare themselves for battle. Hisoka enters the battlefield with 9 victories and 3 losses to his name. Gon stares at Hisoka intently as the magician says, "Don't look at me with such eyes. Don't you see how I'm excited?" The round starts with Gon seizing the initiative. Hisoka dodges the multitude of attacks and knocks back the boy with a kick. The magician punches Gon in the side, making him wince. Hisoka continues defending successfully, leaving Gon frustrated. Hisoka eventually lands a clean hit, scoring him a point. Hisoka then points out that he hasn't moved from his starting position since the start of the match. Gon creates after images, sidesteps Hisoka, and lifts a flagstone into the air and breaks it apart. Gon then uses the shards to conceal himself, so that he can punch Hisoka in the face. Critical hit! 2 points for Gon! The two then walk towards each other, as Gon hands over Hisoka's number 44 tag from the Hunter exam. Hisoka grabs it as the two resume their fighting stances. He deduces that Gon is an enhancer type, based on his nen personality test that he developed. Hisoka reveals that he's a transmuter type, and as it turns out, their two types are quite compatible with each other, due to their opposite characteristics. Hisoka, however, is unstable, so what is important for him now may be trash for him the next day. Don't disappoint me, Gon. Hisoka goes all out to strike Gon. Gon dodges a kick as Hisoka knocks one of the flagstones out of the stadium. After scoring a critical hit, Hisoka earns 2 points. Hisoka then implores Gon to come forward. Gon doesn't want to, so Hisoka reveals that he attached bungee gum to his face. Hisoka pulls him closer and smacks him across the face. You can't escape anymore. Gon understands the severity of the situation as the judges announce that Hisoka is up 6-2. Gon stands up as Hisoka asks him a question. When did I fix the bungee gum to your cheek? A, during the elbow hit, B, during the clean hit, or C, during the critical hit. Gon chooses C. But that is the wrong answer. D was the correct answer. It turns out it happened when he was explaining the different types of nen. If Gon used Gyo, he would have seen this, but Hisoka fixed his gum directly even when fighting, which means Gon must avoid all hits. Since Gon can't run, he'll fight Hisoka head on. Hisoka then gets a little excited. Now I want to smash you. Gon begins pummeling the magician as Hisoka restrains himself. You know, both physically and sexually. Hisoka then activates his bungee gum to punch Gon. The judge announces that the score is now 9-4, as Gon begins to complain. The crowd gets agitated by the ruling, as Hisoka tells Gon to look to the right. A rock then smashes Gon in the face, with Hisoka saying, sorry, that was left for me, but not for you. Turns out he fixed his aura to the stone while Gon was complaining to the judge. Hisoka wins the match and tells Gon he needs more practice. Next time we'll confront for real, in a world with no rules, where we risk our lives. After some time, the spiders meet up at an abandoned warehouse, where the leader, Crollo, announces that he'll take all the items in an underground auction. And among the spiders, we see Hisoka. Crollo allows the killing of any mafia members. In fact, he orders them to terminate anyone that gets in their way. Later on, as the spiders travel on a hot air balloon, Uvo talks to Crollo about a potential traitor. Uvo suspects that there's a Judas amongst them, but Crollo is certain that this is not the case. Plus, in my opinion, Judas wasn't a traitor, says Crollo. He determines an informant exists, but he's unable to obtain precise information. Later, at the troops' hideout, Hisoka notifies Crollo that he promised to meet someone later. Crollo permits this as long as he returns by 6 p.m. the next day. A dirty trick, Hisoka? Says Crollo. Evidently, replies Hisoka. Hisoka sends a text to Kurapika. Meeting is planned at the agreed place. Kurapika arrives and immediately puts up his guard. Relax, I have no intention of fighting against you now. Hisoka informs him there are 13 spiders. Each are wearing a numbered tattoo. To enter the troop, one must fight a current member to replace him. And its main activity is robbery, murder, and sometimes, on rare occasions, doing something good. Hisoka joined 2 years ago to replace number 4. Hisoka wants to fight the boss, but Crollo has protection with him at all times. And once the work is over, he disappears without leaving a trace. Hisoka and Kurapika share a common interest of catching the spiders. Hisoka offers to reveal the abilities of 7 members if Kurapika agrees to work with him. Now it depends on you. You team up with me, or you continue alone. Kurapika then receives a call from Melody that Uvo has escaped his restraints. Afterwards, he says, Hisoka, do you know what happened to the scarlet pupils? Turns out it happened before Hisoka joined the spider. And after Crollo has admired what he's captured, he sells everything. In addition, the spider keeps moving as long as its head hasn't been crushed. Hisoka emphasizes that their relationship would be give and take. If the condition doesn't suit one's interest anymore, they are free to quit. Kurapika wants to meet tomorrow at the same time. Later on, Gon and Killua are brought before the spiders. We don't know each other, thinks Hisoka. We don't know each other, thinks Killua. Ah, remarks Gon. Idiot, thinks Hisoka. Hisoka watches Gon's arm wrestling match with Nobunaga, as the swordsman says that Uvo was killed by the chain guy. After Gon finally beats Nobunaga, Phaeton restricts him by bending his arm backwards. Killua looks to help, but Hisoka threatens him with a card. Nobunaga quarrels with Phaeton, so he flips a coin that results in the troop leaving Gon and Killua alone. Hisoka walks by the two as Killua stares him down. The spiders continue their hunt for the chain guy, and since Nobunaga is watching over Gon and Killua, Machi is paired up with Hisoka. Later on, Crollo instructs the spiders to come to the cemetery building and wreak havoc. Act without restraint. While the massacre is going on, Hisoka merely watches the proceedings from a building. Such a splendid view. Later on, Hisoka lights Bean's cigarette, moments before Machi cuts him down. Now during the auction, Kurapika finds out all the spiders are dead. After successfully winning the Kurta Scarlet Eyes, Kurapika goes to retrieve them as Hisoka is snickering in disguise. Kurapika informs Gon and Killua that the members of the spider are now dead. Hisoka then tries to call Kurapika, but is unable to get through. What a pity, thinking I wanted to console him. Now at the spider hideout, Chrollo uses the powers that he took from Neon to write a prediction for Nobunaga. Apparently, 5 of us will die next week, says Nobunaga. Shellnark says if they pursue the chain guy, they'll lose half of their forces. Chrollo suggests that they avoid him so as to preserve the spider. Hisoka then sends a text to Kurapika, notifying him that the corpses of the spiders were fake. Chrollo then predicts the future for all the spiders. Hisoka then reads his. The client with the red eyes will come to visit you. Half angel, half god of death. You will be able to sell him the secrets of the moons. He will be delighted to learn of the ones of November. On a hot day, with the help of the client, you will manage to be alone with the man of the reserved cross. April, the imposter, will break away from the paper, and the calendar will only have 6 pages left. Paku wants to see the paper, but Hisoka says, if I were you, I wouldn't. You'd be surprised. Hisoka then hands it to her as he plays with his cards. The spiders henceforth read his fortune, but unbeknownst to them, Hisoka altered it with the help of texture surprise. The last half now reads, the 11 legs of the spider will become homesick, but again, 5 members will be lost. You should not abandon the haunt, as you are also one of the legs. Nobunaga assumes that Hisoka sold them out as he pulls out his sword. The spiders want answers, but Hisoka can't say anything. It's not that I don't want to, it's because I can't. I can't say any more. If you think that's not enough, I can only fight to protect myself. Nobunaga is outraged with the response, attacking the magician head on. However, his body is transported through one of Chrollo's stolen abilities. Chrollo tells Nobunaga to shut up and starts interrogating Hisoka. The magician admits to revealing the abilities of 7 or 8 spiders to his client. However, he cannot reveal anything about the client. Chrollo determines that the chain guy must have used his Nen ability to keep Hisoka from talking. Chrollo says that the skill is similar to the Sword of Law. He then speculates that Hisoka was implanted with an attack device. If he were to talk, he'd be in danger. There's no 2 ways about it. I like you, says Hisoka. It's certain. I'm the one who will kill you. The others agree with this hypothesis, while in reality, Hisoka has nothing close to the Sword of Law in his body. It turns out that Hisoka only revealed half-truths to Kurapika, and only mentioned Uvo and Shizuku. He doesn't know the extent of the others' abilities, as that would put them at risk in battle. Only Machi knows about Hisoka's texture surprise, but she's not aware that he can manipulate it into over 1,000 different textures. The falsification of the prediction was all a ploy to keep Chrollo in Yorknew City. That way, Hisoka could fight him. Chrollo then says, we stay. Hisoka is then paired with Franklin and Bono to stay at the hideout. The others split up and start their pursuit of the chain guy. When Hisoka learns that Kurapika captured Chrollo, he texts Illumi to help him out, since he can't leave at the moment. I've known you longer than Chrollo after all, but it won't come free, says Illumi. Hisoka and the others hear a clang. Hisoka goes to check as Franklin sees Kaluto by the window. We then see Illumi dressed as Hisoka, fooling the other 2 spiders. Kurapika meets Paku for the exchange of Gon and Killua for Chrollo. Hisoka? The magician wants in on the hostage exchange, and if Kurapika refuses, Hisoka will kill Gon and Killua, although he secretly admits it's unlikely that he would do that. Once they free Chrollo, Hisoka leaves the airship too. The exchange is then made, with Kurapika's group leaving on the airship. I've waited for this moment for a long time. Fine, let's fight, says Hisoka. I don't need this anymore, as the magician pulls off the fake spider tattoo on his back. Chrollo, however, can't fight Hisoka, since he's got the judgment chain against his heart, with the condition that if he uses Nen, he dies. After hearing this news, Hisoka is stunned. Hisoka leaves on the airship with Paku as they leave Chrollo behind, as per his request. Hisoka will not kill Chrollo since he has no interest in broken toys. After disembarking, Hisoka tells Paku that he should have fought Chrollo on Tuesday, but it seems fate has twisted that away. Goodbye, says Hisoka. While Gon and Killua are on Greed Island, they find out that Chrollo is in the game as well. Meanwhile, Shellnark finds Chrollo in his book, but determines it's probably not Chrollo. They suspect he made his way there looking for an exorcist, but Razor teleported him away. He thusly hired someone to play the game for him as a message to the troop. Hisoka then interjects. The spiders aren't happy to see that Hisoka was the one using Chrollo's name. If Hisoka gets any news about an exorcist, he'll let the spiders know. Gon's group eventually decides to visit Chrollo to have him join their group. When they use the accompany card, they are taken to a pond with a naked Hisoka inside. And Hisoka is quite pleased to see them. The magician admires their growth and ability, remarking that they must have found a good master. He looks over at Biscuit, determining that she must be their teacher. Speaking of which, Hisoka notices that she and him have the same scent. Which, as a guy, that must be kind of awkward. Hisoka then states that he's searching for Chrollo. He wants to find a good Nen exorcist so he can eventually fight him. Biscuit says they're looking for strong people as Hisoka agrees to join their team. Biscuit informs Gon and Killua that she thinks Hisoka is lying, or at the very least, not telling the full truth. The magician then stares at the boys' butts and smiles. Hisoka then inquires about the game's spell cards. He takes them to Love, the city of romance. Killua then starts to contemplate, realizing that Hisoka met Gon and Biscuit at Macedora, which means he was waiting there for the spiders since most players go there looking for spell cards. Killua deduces that he already met up with the spider, and is currently looking for a Nen eraser to revive Chrollo's Nen abilities. Gon wants to ask Sezugara to join them, so he tells Hisoka to show him his list of contacts. Hisoka summons his book, and allows Gon and Killua to inspect it. Killua is surprised that the names of the spiders aren't showing up. We then see that Hisoka manipulated the contacts with his texture surprise. They form an alliance and make their way to Sophroby. The group wins 3 games, with Razor challenging them to dodgeball. 8 players, choose your members, cause this side's already decided. Hisoka determines that this game is taking place in real life, which means that there's real consequences, and they could possibly die in the process. The teams take their positions as Razor explains the rules. I mean, do you really need to explain the rules? It's dodgeball after all, but, you know, he does it.
5 Ds of dodgeball. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and die.
In the midst of the match, Hisoka gets the ball and uses his bungee gum to keep it attached to his hand. Hisoka throws the ball, but 6 and 7 merge to form 13 and take the ball from him. Razor throws the ball in Gon's face and eliminates him. Later, Laser curves the ball towards Hisoka, which he narrowly dodges. One of the demons intercepts it and throws it at Hisoka from a short distance. Yet, the magician manages to catch the ball while breaking 2 of his fingers in the process. Gon uses back to return to the court. Hisoka notes that the ball becomes less destructive if it passes through the outside. He then admires Gon's rock. Gon punches the ball at Razor as he deflects the ball directly above himself. However, Hisoka snatches it back with his bungee gum, eliminating Razor. Back, says Razor. Gon realizes that Hisoka can't catch another ball with his injured hand. Biscuit knocks out another demon as only Razor remains. Razor's Nen Devils disappear as all his energy comes back to him. Razor throws the ball into the air, preparing for volleyball spike. Just then, Gon, Killua, and Hisoka enter a 3-person formation. Razor spikes the ball with all his might. Gon catches the ball, Hisoka controls the attack, and Killua stabilizes the formation. After the dust settles, Gon is seen with ball in hand. Gon is going to need more power for his next attack. Killua holds the ball as Gon provides the final breathtaking attack. Razor braces himself as he deflects the ball straight back at Gon. However, Gon feints in the process, allowing him to dodge the ball. It's not over yet. Victory must be absolute. Isn't that right, Gon? Says Hisoka. The magician catches the ball with bungee gum and reflects it back at Razor. Razor looks to deflect once more, but the ball doesn't cooperate. Bungee gum has both the properties of chewing gum and rubber. And with this, Razor is knocked out of bounds, as victory belongs to Team Gon. I broke all my fingers, says Hisoka. Hisoka states they won the game because of everyone's power. Now, having won the match, Hisoka decides to leave. He's not interested in collecting any of the cards, so if they need him, they can use contact. Killua then determines that Hisoka was lying earlier about his knowledge of spell cards. And it wasn't for some ulterior motive, he was simply lying for the sake of lying. Finks uses contact on Hisoka, stating they found a Nen exorcist. Finks takes Hisoka to the rest of the spiders. They point out the location of the Nen exorcist, but don't reveal how they found him. Hisoka then notices that someone is hiding in the tree shadows. Are you a monster? Remarks Nobunaga. Kaluta walks out and says his Zetsu was imperfect. But this is not true. Hisoka's senses are just on another level. Hisoka thinks Kaluta looks very tasty, as the boy reveals that he found the Nen exorcist. Hisoka wonders who Machi would rather see alive, him or Chrollo. Machi states that if Hisoka kills Chrollo, she'll hunt him down. I like that, says Hisoka. After a few weeks, Hisoka leaves Greed Island with Abingane, the Nen exorcist. Back in the real world, Hisoka and Abingane approach Chrollo, who happens to be reading an issue of Shonen Jump. Now, Hisoka doesn't show up for the remainder of the Chimera Ant arc. He next shows up during the first round of voting of the 13th Hunter chairman election. However, when he casts his votes, he reveals that the card is blank. He then rates Kanzai at 85 points. Ginter receives 90, Payan 77, and the other pro hunters don't really tickle his fancy, as they all receive paltry scores. He then detects someone with a score of 95, which turns out to be Illumi disguised as Gitaracker. Illumi informs Hisoka that Chairman Netero died fighting some foreign ants. And if Hisoka wasn't chasing Chrollo, he could have fought Netero or the ants. But the magician seems not to care. As we discussed earlier, Hisoka doesn't care about the past. Illumi says that Gon participated and is now dying. What did you say? Says Hisoka. Illumi says that both will die, as he wants to eliminate his younger brother, whom we have not yet met. Hisoka and Illumi are next seen in an airship. Illumi then explains Aluka Zoldic's powers, his younger sister. Now it turns out that you can make a wish to Aluka, and she will grant it. However, if you refuse Aluka's request 4 times, you must pay with your life. In addition, the most beloved people and the people you spent the most time with will die as well. The number of deaths increases depending on the severity of the wish, and it's most certain that Killua will ask Aluka to heal Gon, and Illumi fears that he will do it the wrong way. He then tells Hisoka that Netero was forced to use the rose against the King of the Ants. And Gon cursed himself with a creed and limitation. If Killua goes forward with his wish, there will be a request he won't be able to grant, and will henceforth be killed. Gon, being his closest friend, will be turned back to normal once again, only to die because of Killua's mistake. Furthermore, all the Zoldycks will be killed, along with tens of thousands of people, including Hisoka, since he's met Killua. Later on, Killua, Aluka, and their butlers are on the way to Gon's hospital. Killua realizes that Illumi wants to kill Aluka. He then tells his brother to bring it on, as Illumi manipulates some drivers to crash their vehicles. Killua's car veers off the road and into the forest. Oh my, says Hisoka, that was pretty extreme. Illumi determines that Killua is hiding some of the rules about Aluka's powers. And without proper information, a negotiation is pointless. Hence, Illumi will kill Aluka. Illumi instructs Hisoka to pull Aluka away from Killua if the opportunity presents itself. By the way, would it be possible for me to kill Killua, I wonder? Illumi's killing aura bubbles to the surface, as Hisoka admits that he was just joking. Killua notices Illumi's killing aura, as Illumi wonders if he was set up. No way, says Hisoka. You know, if possible, I want Gon to be saved too. The more toys you have, the more fun you have, no? Killua uses Godspeed to escape as Hisoka confronts the butlers. Hisoka throws a barrage of cards at Godo, but the butler flicks his coins in retaliation. Godo instructs the other two to chase Killua as he deals with the magician. Turns out Hisoka caught all the coins as he informs Godo about the extent of his powers. My aura possesses the qualities of stickiness and elasticity. Godo furiously attacks the magician with more coins. Hisoka creates a barrier with his bungee gum and catches them all with ease. Hisoka notes that the coins were slower this time around, and Godo admits that it was due to the rotation that he applied to them. Hisoka's arms twist together as Godo continues firing more coins. Bungee gum, release! With this, Hisoka dodges the barrage of coins. Hisoka's speed is quite incredible. He then releases his bungee gum and sends the coins back at Godo. The butler focuses on deflecting all the coins as Hisoka descends and slices his neck. Killua and Aluka make it onto an airship as Illumi and Hisoka arrive a little bit too late. Illumi reveals a Nen-infused needle that allows him to control people for his own purposes. Illumi sticks an army of people with his needles, as he asks Hisoka to hunt the misses down. After eliminating his attackers, Hisoka informs Illumi via phone that he recovered a map. He wants to send it to Illumi with some modifications from his texture surprise, with the intention of misleading him. But Illumi already identified the airship in which Killua is on. Eventually, Killua enters a car, but is surrounded by Illumi and his Nen-controlled zombies. Amidst Illumi's confrontation with Killua, Hisoka thinks, would it be more fun to kill Aluka and earn Killua's hatred? Or to leave Aluka alive, save Gon, and make Illumi my enemy? Decisions. Later on, he thinks, if Aluka doesn't die, but Illumi does, and I'm not hated by Killua, then even if Gon comes back to health, I won't have gotten any sort of bonus. Then maybe killing Aluka, making Killua hate me, then kill Killua, and having Illumi hate me is the best plan of action. After the confrontation, Hisoka is seen exiting an elevator, and entering a room where Teradane Neutral is staying. He then proceeds to kill him. Now, the next time that we see Hisoka is at Heaven's Arena, and he's challenging a floor master, and it turns out to be none other than Chrollo. "Let's take this to the death," says Chrollo. Okay. The use of any and all weapons is permitted. Chrollo pulls out his book as Hisoka readies his card. Chrollo throws a black antenna at the judge's neck and shows Hisoka a small phone. Hisoka notices another antenna as the referee lunges for Hisoka with vicious intent. The clown determines that Chrollo wants to stick him with the other antenna, as he uses the judge as a distraction. Hisoka wonders how many people Chrollo can control at once. Hisoka then uses bungee gum to attach the judge to pull him towards Chrollo. Chrollo dodges and waits patiently behind the judge so he can stick Hisoka. Stick Hisoka. Hisoka slices the judge's neck with one of his cards, but the judge's chest explodes. Hisoka thusly retreats to the ceiling. Sun and moon. He affixes the seals to his hands, and when they touch, they explode. In an instant, Chrollo affixed the seals to the referee. If the referee were to press them together for 3 to 5 seconds, it would have blasted everyone in the arena. I acquired this ability in Meteor City. Chrollo has a bookmark called Double Face, which allows him to use an ability on a page in the book, even when it's closed. He can have the bookmark on one page and have it open on another, allowing him to use 2 abilities at once. Well, technically speaking, he's using 4 abilities. The book, the bookmark, and the 2 stolen abilities. But only the book and the bookmark belong to him. Chrollo came up with the bookmark so he could use abilities that required 2 hands. Fighting without holding the book is also a nice perk as well. He's going to introduce 3 more abilities to Hisoka, which is a new record for him in killing someone. Chrollo accumulates abilities to assure his victory, which is what he did to Hisoka. Chrollo uses Order Stamp, which allows him to control puppets. While Black Voice can only control 2 people at once, Order Stamp allows him to control a greater number of people, but he can't give them complex orders when doing so. He uses Gallery Fake to make a copy of the judge, and uses Order Stamp to control him. Being a skill hunter, Chrollo relishes mastering other skills while making it all his own. Hisoka decapitates the fake. Chrollo then reveals Convert Hands Transfer Student, which allows him to swap appearances with someone. He then states that when someone dies, their abilities disappear from the book. However, one of the abilities he currently possesses belongs to a dead person, then becoming stronger through death. Chrollo informs Hisoka that once the Sun and Moon seals have been affixed, they can never be removed, meaning the ability remains intact regardless of whether Chrollo has a bookmark on the page. Chrollo brings forth Black Voice as Hisoka activates Bungee Gum. Chrollo controls someone to block his path. After defeating him, another one comes forward. The order of events are going as follows. Black Voice, use bookmark to maintain ability, activate Convert Hands, transform into someone else, move bookmark to convert hands, close book, and hide. The crowd panics as Hisoka realizes that Chrollo is hiding amongst them with his abilities. All of a sudden, 30 puppets rush towards Hisoka. The clown uses Bungee Gum to elevate himself, but the horde of puppets are unrelentless. Chrollo appears behind him and lands a critical blow. How magnificent, thinks Hisoka. The clown battles the horde as Chrollo flies in with a kick to the neck. Hisoka tries to establish his bearings, but Chrollo won't give him a single moment. Chrollo comes from above as Hisoka uses Bungee Gum to throw several heads at him. I saw you set the whole move up, says Chrollo. I know, replies Hisoka, as the second severed head hits its target. Hisoka uses another head to hit Chrollo's left side as the 2 reset themselves. The clown continues eliminating the fakes whilst attacking his main target. Chrollo escapes into the crowd as Hisoka takes down all the fakes, except for one. Chrollo dispels the stamp as Hisoka gives chase. Hisoka chucks severed heads as he realizes that Chrollo might have his book open to Black Voice inside his clothing. Hisoka uses Bungee Gum to propel several people at Chrollo. He throws a severed head at Chrollo and catches Chrollo's leg with his Bungee Gum. He smashes the man to death, but it turns out that Chrollo disguised an audience member as himself. This makes him realize that he's been misled, and audience members marked with the seal don't disappear. Through this trickery, Chrollo was able to ascertain how Hisoka interpreted his explanation. Hisoka then realizes that the real order is activate Gallery Fake, affix the bookmark and close the book, mass-produce copies, activate Sun and Moon, affix the Sun seal on copies, release ability, activate Order Stamp, and then finally, order them to break Hisoka. Since the rescue crew will be here soon, Chrollo will probably put an end to everything very soon. The audience goes into a frenzy, but the crazed clown embraces the challenge. He grabs a group of them with his Bungee Gum, twirls them around, and mows down the oncomers. His human hammer breaks as more rush forward. Amongst the audience, Chrollo uses Black Voice to give an unknown person some commands. Hisoka holds a severed head in his hand. "Now," says Chrollo. A sudden explosion takes off 4 fingers on Hisoka's left hand. Chrollo attached a full-powered bomb onto one of the bodies, placed a plus sign on it, and had one of his puppets with a minus sign touch it. "I suppose from here on, I won't have the freedom to analyze and pick apart your tactics. Now it's do or die." Hisoka pulls off a head and attaches himself to a wall with his bungee gum. The Horde, however, is unrelenting. He makes a mad dash, but it's not long before all the paths are blocked off. A massive explosion ensues, sending Hisoka flying across the stadium. He wants to bungee gum up to the ceiling for safety, but realizes that his right leg is now gone. Chrollo then starts chucking audience members at him. "What's this? Going to die? Well, I guess if I'm gonna die anyway." A massive explosion ensues. Firefighters and paramedics rush onto the scene. Numerous victims lost their lives to the incident, and it is presumed that Hisoka was among them that died. The members of the Spiders stare down at Hisoka's charred body. Turns out the cause of death was suffocation, due to the wall of flesh piled on top of him. Machi decides to still patch him up as the others decide to leave. This is a thank you for helping with the boss's Nen exorcism. As she leans closer, Nen aura swells from the corpse. Nen that becomes stronger after death. A flashback shows Hisoka using his rubber nen to caress his vital organs for protection. Then, at a later time, expand and contract them back to life. Hisoka's eyes open in real time as he swallows a breath of air. "Yo, Machi." Machi instructs him to sit down so she can stitch him up. However, Hisoka declines and instead uses his bungee gum to reconstruct his face and missing body parts. Machi decides to leave, but Hisoka manipulates her body. With her immobilized, Hisoka tells her to inform the others that he won't stop until he kills all the spiders. "If you want to stop me, how about you free yourself and try?" Chrollo finds out that the Kaken royal family is taking a vast amount of treasure to the new continent, which he wants to steal. Shalnark hangs up, wondering where Kortapi is. Hisoka chucks her severed head at him and knocks him down with extreme force. 10 more to go, says Hisoka. It looks like Hisoka is hellbent on eliminating all the spiders. Now the next time that we hear about Hisoka is on the Black Whale boat. Machi approaches Chrollo and says, "I will kill Hisoka. The one who finds him first will be the one to kill him," replies Chrollo. "That's unreasonable," says Machi. "No. Then let's decide by flipping a coin." "That is unreasonable. A coin toss is only when the fight is between 2 people. This time, everyone wants to kill him. Naturally, including me." Now Machi doesn't look too pleased by this decision, but she's got no other recourse. Now after Onior has a discussion with Prince Zhang he calls Hinrig and tells him that they need to find Hisoka so that they can control the spider. You look for Hisoka on the deck above. While you're searching for Hisoka on deck 3, kill Morena Prudo, the boss of the Haley family. Hinrig then burst into Lynch and Zakru's room. "The resistance begins. We're going to crush the Haley." And with this, they're on their way. Now later on, Lynch and Zakru are looking for Hisoka. Lynch and Zakru then find a man that they believe to be Hisoka. Lynch decides to punch the man in the abdomen, and he curls up into a ball. "The Shiyu is on a manhunt. Get in the way and you're dead," says Lynch. The two then continue looking around until they run into a man that looks like Hisoka. "Hey, you Hisoka?" "You are," says the man. "Lynch. You?" She then goes to punch him in the abdomen. However, she's the one that gets knocked out. "Oops, my bad. I couldn't help slipping in a counterblow. So, what are you after?" A nervous Zakru then tells Hisoka that their family is searching for him. "If you want to know more, why not follow me?" Hisoka then smiles in a devilish fashion. Elsewhere, Zakru wakes up in a pile of garbage. Lynch says that that was Hisoka. The two then tell Hinrig where Hisoka is located, and he decides to go there right away. He then goes to Theater 8 and sits down to the man that's presumed to be Hisoka. "I'll cut to the chase. I have a request." "I'm listening," says Hisoka. "Could you move to Tier 1 until the Haley and Cha-R families conflict is resolved? I've even found a room in the VIP area." "Why?" says Hisoka. "The Cha-R family and the troop have joined forces against the Haley, and our own Shiyu family is joining the fray. Naturally, if you attack the troop, you'll be our enemy too." However, despite all this, Hisoka is quite fond of chaos. Hinrig tells Hisoka that he wants balance between the families, and Haley is aiming on breaking that balance. Hisoka then asks a blatant question. "Mirror the troop. Who do you think will win?" "Sorry, but I'm on Team Spiders," says Hinrig. "Your favorite?" "I like all of them. You?" Now as Hinrig's about to hand Hisoka the VIP pass, he decides to pull away his hand and says, "If they come knocking, I'll have to answer."